The full moon bites your senses, the darkness knows your name. It whispers lies into the wind to convince them you're insane. Your friends ask friends, where you been? Yet it seems no one knows. The color black paints your lips and dominates all your clothes. Your walls adorned with Ouija boards, your bookcase may catch fire. From magic books and murder crooks, this fascination never tires. 'Cause somewhere not so long ago you woke and found the weird. Conspiracies and aliens, ancient demons, cults of fear. It's all more real than so-called news, it's everywhere you go. Thank God that John and Stacey welcomed you into the show. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your hosts, authors of Till Death and Beyond, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we're in the midst of a full moon.
Yes, we are.
Little full moon madness. Can you feel it?
Yes.
God knows I can feel it because it is literally the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things I like to do on a full moon when it's a weekend. If we're going to record, I like to do it right now because you know what? I'm going to be up anyway.
Yes, you are. And so am I.
Yeah, I can't. Hey, you make that sound like it's because of me. But I mean, I can't sleep on a full moon, man. It's just crazy. It's just, it makes me insane. I get a little itchy, a little scratchy, you know? Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel anything weird?
It's the wolf coming out.
Oh, the wolf is coming out. I'm surprised the wolf's not out right now, but... You ever feel weird on a full moon?
It doesn't really affect me like that.
It's because you're a victim. I mean, okay. Have you ever noticed that people act a little bit crazier around a full moon?
I do notice that, yes.
So you've literally noticed that?
Yes, there's always crazier stories and just weird things going on. And
did you know that the term loony comes from the word lunatic?
Oh.
Did you know that lunatic is derived from the Latin word luna?
I see where this is going.
Meaning the moon.
Yes, I think I did maybe know something to that effect.
Yeah. So Luna created lunatic because they correlated as far back as then. That
must be something to it.
Yeah, that people were a little bit wackadoodle on full moons or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's where we get loony from because that's the next common step.
Right.
Little fact for you, we had a cat named Luna once.
We did.
Yeah, it was a little stray.
It was a little Siamese cat. It's very cute.
It was cute. Something a little bit more loony. There was a study published in 2021. Do you remember that year?
It's foggy, yeah.
It is a little foggy, isn't it? It gets foggier every day. The study was published by researchers from the University of Washington and Yale University. Mm-hmm. But it showed a correlation between lunar cycles and sleep cycles.
Wow.
During the days preceding a full moon, people went to bed later and slept for shorter periods, in some cases with differences of up to 90 minutes, even in locations with full access to electric light.
Wow.
Another study had around full moon, it was found that the EEG delta activity during REM sleep, an indicator of deep sleep, decreased by 30%.
Wow.
Yeah. The time to fall asleep increased by 5 minutes, which when you're doing a big case study, that's quite significant.
Right.
And EEG assessed total sleep duration was reduced by 20 minutes.
The moon just messing everybody up.
These changes were associated with a decrease in subjective sleep quality and diminished melatonin levels. The lunar cycle seems to influence human sleep, even when one does not see the moon and is not aware of the actual moon phase. So that's kind of crazy.
So it's not psychological.
Well, no,
like,
I mean...
It's not like, oh, it's a full moon and then you sleep bad because you're thinking you're going to.
Right. I mean, the waves don't have to see the moon.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to still wave. It's kind of like the way it works, I guess. I mean, we've talked about it before, right? How much of the human body consists of water. And, we see what happens to water with the moon. I mean, and the tides and stuff. So not that that's a scientific thing. That's just kind of, well, that's hyperbole.
Right.
And it sounds good, though. Something else that sounds kind of crazy about the moon, and yes, I looked up moon things because I like to defend my weird behavior on the moon. Senior police officials in Brighton, UK, announced in June 2007. Now, I found several of these type studies, but this one seemed the coolest.
Okay.
They were planning to deploy more officers over the summer to counter trouble they believe is linked to the lunar cycle. This followed research by the Sussex police force that concluded that there was a rise in violent crime when the moon was full. A spokeswoman for the police force said, research carried out by us has shown that a correlation between violent incidents and full moons. A police officer responsible for the research told the BBC that, from my experience of 19 years of being a police officer, undoubtedly on full moons, we do seem to get people with sort of a strange behavior, more fractious and argumentative. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool. Although I hear freaking John Cleese or like, you know, one of the guys, right, Eric Idle or somebody, whenever it's a BBC report, and it says, it starts with from my experience, you know?
Right.
From my experience of 19 years of being a police officer, undoubtedly on full moons, we do seem to get more people that are being loony, you know, and have somebody behind them, woo, you know. Can you not see that?
You see everything as a Monty Python skit, can't
Oh,
you?
I'm sorry, Miss Bugs Bunny. I would rather see a Monty Python skit than Yosemite Sam every 5 minutes.
Right.
But yes, we both have really loony heads. But, you know.
It's a good night for it.
It is a good night for it. Mm-hmm. It would be a real good week of it if I could ever remember to schedule a vacation. I gotta schedule it for like 2 weeks, right? I've got to have 2 weeks notice on scheduling a vacation, which doesn't seem like a great deal, but it is when you forget to schedule a vacation.
Right.
And I blame it on being so busy. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally too busy to take 5 seconds and schedule a vacation, Stacey.
You need to do that. I'm gonna put Post-it notes all over your office.
Every 2 weeks it goes. It's 2 weeks longer.
I know.
And now I've got like stuff coming up in 2 weeks and I can't do it. So it's going to be like...
Post-it notes. I'm going to put Post-it notes everywhere.
It's going to be at least a month.
Okay.
I can't keep doing this crazy shenanigans.
No.
I need a vacation.
Yes.
Now. But it can't be now. So it's kind of crazy. It's bothering me. But something that doesn't bother me is the fact, well, a couple things. The news today is going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I'm really in love with one of the stories. I'm so in love with one of the stories. We were going to record earlier in the week, do a little early episode just because of the freaking news story. Mm-hmm. And I've got audio clip from the news story, and it's still going to kick off. We're going to do the news a little bit cool today, man, because I'm going to kick it off with this audio because it's badass. Mm-hmm. But just really excited. I like when I get excited about her news because that way I know it's not all going to be like a baboon butt story or something. You know, it's going to be some really.
There's going to be some actual paranormal stuff.
Oh,
in there.
some real meaningful stuff. and I'm excited about the news today. Also excited about the new listeners out there. So if you're a new listener of the Sideshow, hello, how you doing? Mm-hmm. I'm John. This is Stacey. We're going to be your guides on this lunacy. So, you know, I hope you enjoy your lunar trip here because man, it's going to be like a full-time full moon. You're going to think, I wonder if there's a full moon at their house every week.
Yes.
Because it does feel that way. But seriously, if you're new to the whole shindig here, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/paranormal sideshow and support us. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to get to know us, if you know what I mean. Because if you do that and you say, hey, what's going on a Patreon message, I'll be like, hey, what's up? So actually, it's the little Vietnamese kid that we pay to sit in the office and answer it all day. I'm like, act like Stacey when they say Stacey. And so I say, okay, sir. But no, we don't actually pay him. But also on the YouTube, I'm going to shield that one this week. YouTube.com/paranormal sideshow. I don't know if I ever actually whore that one out, but it really needs whored.
I don't think you do very much.
No, and it just grows on its own. Maybe I shouldn't talk about the other ones. Maybe that's the problem. I should never mention Facebook or any of them. You know what? I'm not going to. I know I said Facebook, but let's pretend I didn't. Okay. And I'm not going to give the address. So I'm just telling you, the patreon.com/paranormal sideshow and youtube.com/the same damn thing. Well, don't put that in.
Yeah, geez. It'd be like, I don't find them here.
It's a hell of a cool channel, though. Thanks, John. Yeah. Speaking of thanking me, you're going to thank me here in a second. Mm-hmm. You know why?
Why?
Well, you're not even going to take a stab at it? You know
not
what?
Possibly have a clue.
Forget the whole stab at it thing during a full moon. I didn't say that because you creep me out anyway. I just know I'm going to find you over my bed one day and just, I mean, not that you're going to kill me. You're literally going to be standing there making that sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just spinning in a circle, like pulling your hair, twisting it with like the two fingers.
What you like.
I do like that. I like the possessed thing more though. Pea soup,
All right.
the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the pea soup if you like do the rest of it. It'd be really cool. Plus, you get to spit pea soup on me, so
Yeah, but I'd have to put it in my mouth first. Ugh.
it's okay. I have to dress like a priest. We all make sacrifices. So it's time for John's Strange and Bizarre Events, Volume 2.
There's very odd pauses in that title.
I was watching the William Shatner show.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
The new one.
Right.
Where he like says something and then he like totally has slack jaw looking at the camera. You're waiting for him to say something else, but you're kind of creeped out about it. What he just said. He does a great job.
Yeah. What is it? The unexplained?
Yeah, it's the unexplained.
Yeah.
Where he'll say, he's like, and that is what we're still wondering today. And he's got the mouth open.
Well, it is unexplained.
And then it goes to commercial.
You can't expect him to explain anything.
It goes to commercial, but I'm totally thinking he's getting ready to say something else.
You never can tell.
I bet they just turn the lights and leave him in there. Like where he's so old by this point. Some bitch don't know where he's at. They're just like, hey, we're going to talk about this. But he's still got enough faculties because he's lived in TV his whole life.
Right.
That he's like, okay, yeah. It's, do you know that they were actually, people were fighting with him on Twitter about his sexuality. Well, not his, but Captain Kirk's. They were like, Captain Kirk is bi.
Right.
And he's like, oh.
No, he's not.
He's like, oh, contraire.
Wasn't he a womanizer?
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, I mean, I don't mind who you want to portray that way. It doesn't bother me a bit.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things I watch on TV that I like to sit and think, I bet that guy smokes. You know?
Right.
Like Mandalorian, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just don't show it on here, but he's done. He's lighting one up. He's like, G88. So what all do you do? For humans. Stuff like that. But I get it, right?
It's hard to smoke with the helmet on. That's why you don't see him do it.
Oh, that's right.
He has to take the helmet off.
Well, he's a cowboy, man. He's got to smoke. I mean, we were taught at a young age that cowboys smoke.
That's right.
And how's that Marlboro Man doing these days? just wondering. I wasn't sure if he was getting along okay or not. Somebody should check on that guy.
Right.
And his horse. The horse had it worse. He had the secondhand smoke. They asked him once if he'd ever smoked.
Did they?
The horse.
They asked the horse?
Yeah, he's like, no. They knew he was lying. You can't trust a horse. It's hard to trust horses.
It is.
It really is. They're always looking out of both sides of their head. It's I don't trust anything like that. I had a history teacher like that. I didn't trust him either. He looked like a fish. Like a literal fish. If you put like some glass around him, it was just like crazy. So yes, these are my strange and bizarre events.
Okay.
Volume 2. I might actually put that as a title. And no, this one's totally a lunacy title.
Did we finish the thought on Captain Kirk?
Oh no.
I think you kind of left it halfway.
Oh my God. I Captain Kirk the Captain Kirk story. You see what he does to me?
I think you just sort of dropped it there.
Wow. I wonder if anybody else would have noticed.
Probably.
We should have left it that way. Just been like, or came back to it at the end of the show. Captain Kirk's a whore. He's a man whore.
Yes. I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but even I know that he was very...
How could you not? Listen, I don't care if listen, we know he's not a racist, right? Because blue, purple, magenta, it doesn't matter. He was hammering them. And they made no bones about it. But, damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a running joke. But I mean, he was always taking them out of there, but how could you not? They're always like, yes, Captain. I mean, and they were wearing skirts just below their nipples. I mean, I don't know, man. Something about the late 60s, it was like, please. It's like Cartman's cat, meow, you know? It was just like, got the ass in the air, just like turning behind, little two fingers on your lips, like, oh, is that me? You know? So yeah, Captain Kirk was a man whore. I'm not saying maybe he had a list and he'd check off every now and then, but I don't know. It's just not something that was ever readily there. I mean, he had so much space twat that he didn't really have to worry about it. So it was good to go. I really don't care. It was just funny. They were arguing with him on Twitter about it.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no, ...
Does he pause with his Twitters?
No, he doesn't, but I read it like that. So anyway, on to bigger and better things, such as John's Strange and Bizarre Events Volume 2 once again. It's like Volume 7 by now. I gotta get in my serious, scary voice now.
Yes.
Which for some reason just sounded like Elvis. My serious, scary voice. Oh, have mercy. Living statues. From 1917 to 1928, I can't believe you didn't laugh when I did that. Normally you can't.
To get into serious mode.
Normally you can't take it. Where do you put your mind when I do that stuff? Because I know you do. I know you have to do something to kill it.
I don't know.
Living statues. From 1917 to 1928, 500,000 people were afflicted with a ghastly condition that could be part of the plotline of any horror film. The victims, very much alive and conscious, found themselves in inexplicably frozen states. Their static bodies prisons for their minds. It's called EL, or encephalopathy, aka the sleeping sickness. First appeared in Europe, and it quickly spread around the world, reaching epidemic levels in North America, Europe, and India by 1919. About a third of those stricken with the illness died. Of the survivors, nearly half eventually found themselves unable to physically interact with the world around them, and all the while fully aware of their surroundings. Though occasionally capable of limited speech, eye motion, and even laughter, they generally appeared as living statues, totally motionless for hours, days, weeks, or years. The cause is unknown, but one theory is brain inflammation triggered by a rare strain of strep, the bacteria responsible for many sore throats each year. Science's best guess is that the bacteria mutated, provoking the immune system to attack the brain, leaving the victim helpless. None of this explains why the illness disappeared only to resurface sporadically, be it in Europe in the 1950s or in China 10 years ago when a 12-year-old girl was hospitalized for 5 weeks with the disease. Are such occurrences the new normal, or are they signs that EL could be planning something bigger any day? A 2004 analysis of 20 patients with symptoms remarkably similar to EL concluded that whatever ailed them is still prevalent. As such, history's so-called sleeping sickness remains the stuff of nightmares, especially if you're neighbors with Bill Cosby. It's pretty creepy,
That's
huh?
craziness. I can't imagine.
What's even crazier is how little you hear about it.
Yeah, and the survival rate's not that great.
No. I mean,
it says epidemic level.
Yeah.
You think you would know about that?
Yeah. I mean, that just sucks.
I can't believe that it just sort of disappeared on its own, but then pops up every so often.
Can you imagine?
That's really strange.
The third world countries that just throw them in the grave. I mean, because we have those stories anyway.
Oh, we have those stories all the time where people like wake up and oh, that's horrible.
I mean, at least some of them have eye motion and stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just terrible, man. It's scary.
That would be terrifying too. Could you imagine waking up and
not being able to move? I mean, it's happened to me with little bits, like when I've had the sleep paralysis and stuff. Thank God that doesn't happen anymore, but
right.
Because that's horrifying. I can't think of much things that are scarier than that. Mm-hmm. Just into the helplessness,
Right.
Do the Pollock sisters prove reincarnation? This is one for you.
Okay.
Today, 24% of Americans, about 3% of that Stacey by herself, believe in reincarnation. Although scientists tend to poo-poo the possibility, Every once in a while, an unsolved mystery comes around that is so compelling that otherwise unexplainable that it gives even scientists pause. That is what we have in the story of the Pollock sisters. In 1957, two young English sisters, Joanna and Jacqueline Pollock, 11 and 6 respectively, died in a tragic car accident. 1 year later, their mother gave birth to twins, Jillian and Jennifer. When the twins were old enough to talk, they began identifying and requesting toys that had belonged to their dead sisters, pointing out landmarks only their dead sisters would have known, such as the school they'd attended, and sometimes panicking upon seeing cars idling. "The car is coming to get us," they reportedly shrieked on one occasion. After the twins turned 5, these incidents became less frequent, and the girls went on to lead normal lives. Still, the story of the Pollock sisters made its way to Dr. Ian Stevenson, 1918 to 2007, a psychologist who studied reincarnation. After studying thousands of supposed cases, Dr. Stevenson wrote a book telling of 14 that he believed to be absolutely real, including that of the Pollock sisters. I thought you would love that because we believe it to be absolutely real, as we've seen too many 100,000% beyond, how do you even say it? Coincidence only goes so far.
Right.
I don't believe in coincidence in the first place, but we've seen some that are just crazy, right? And you can go one of two ways of ones like the Pollock sisters. When it's in the same family, same house, I mean, there's always a chance they were seeing ghosts.
True.
And those ghosts were pointing out the school. But that doesn't explain the fear of the cars.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know.
They're irrational fears and stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yes, I fully believe that sort of stuff.
Where are the Sodder children? Not the sodding children. I don't want you to think I'm actually asking. Where are the sodding children? George and Jenny Sodder of West Virginia were forced to cope not only with the immeasurable loss of their children, but also with the mysterious circumstances surrounding that loss. After the Sodder home burned to the ground on the night before Christmas in 1945, 5 of the 10 Sodder children were still alive and accounted for. But what about the other 5? From all accounts, it would seem that they had vanished into thin air. One of the craziest things about this was there was zero physical evidence of the children that could be found. And that's virtually impossible from a scientific standpoint. That wasn't the only thing off about the events of that night. Apparently, George tried to save the children, who he believed were still trapped inside the house, obviously.
Right.
By using his coal truck, which strangely was inoperable. The phone lines to the house were found to have been cut. A woman claimed to have seen all 5 missing children peering from a passing car while the fire was in progress. And a woman at the Charleston Hotel who saw the children's photo in a newspaper said she had seen 4 of the 5 a week after the fire. The children were accompanied by 2 women and 2 men, all of Italian extraction. She said in a statement, "I tried to talk to the children in a friendly manner, but the men appeared hostile and wouldn't allow it." The Sodder family theorized that the children had been kidnapped. Good theory. Perhaps in an attempt to extort money, perhaps to coerce George into joining a local mafia. The Sodders were Italian immigrants. Or perhaps in retaliation for George's outspoken criticism of Mussolini and Italy's fascist government. From the 1950s until Jenny Sodder's death in the late 1980s, the Sodder family maintained a billboard on State Route 16 with pictures of the 5 vanished children and offering a reward for information. The last known surviving Sodder child, Sylvia, 69, still doesn't believe her siblings perished in the fire.
Wow.
Isn't that really crazy?
And they've never come forward, not any of them.
No. After all these years, man, I would hate to think, especially since they only seen 4 of the 5 when they did see that. God knows what happened to the 5th one. And then, never to hear anything else. It really doesn't look good for them.
No, that's terrible. I wonder if they ever came out and said what the cause of the fire was, like if it was deliberately set to cover up.
I don't know. West Virginia and back then.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Crazy.
I don't know how forensic, to this day, I don't know how well the forensics are up there. So,
that is a crazy story.
It really, really is. All right. So I'm going to go to this one, and I call it The Changeling.
Okay.
In 2008, Clint Eastwood's film Changeling, which really messed with me, reawakened interest. I watched that while you were asleep one night.
Did you?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Reawakened interest in one of the most bizarre and tragic crime stories of the 1920s. Single mom Christine Collins reported her 9-year-old son, Walter, missing in March 1928 from their home in Los Angeles. 5 months later, the police brought Walter back to Christine, except it wasn't Walter, and Christine knew it. But the LA police dismissed Christine's concerns, going so far as to accuse her of terrible mothering and have her committed to a mental hospital. The real Walter Collins was never found, and over time authorities come to believe he was one of the victims of convicted child murderer Gordon Stewart Northcott. Although Northcott's mother offered a confession for killing Walter, whatever happened to Walter Collins, his body was never found, and no one ever learned what really happened. Nor has it been established with any certainty why the police were so invested in covering up the boy's disappearance that they brought a different child back to Christine and tried to convince her and the rest of the world that it was Walter.
That's crazy. A mother would know.
How nuts.
Yeah.
Can you imagine bringing another child back and trying to tell you it was your kid? Right.
And you know that it's not, but then they get threatened to put you in an insane asylum.
Unless you had like a really simple kid and, they brought you back like a, really polite, smart kid.
Right.
You're kind of like, oh, hey, Walter.
That's crazy.
Hello, Walter. Yeah, Walter. Walter's funny sometimes.
Wouldn't the kid have known?
Yeah. In the movie, I don't know if it was theory or not, but the kid did know. The kid was like a trouble kid and did what they asked. And
I see.
All this stuff. It was really crazy movie and became like this big media sensation in LA. And so it's interesting. Like, you need to watch the movie. Plus, it's a Clint Eastwood film.
Right.
It can't be bad.
No.
This next one we've talked about several times, but I can't really do a series of strange events without talking about Tunguska.
Okay.
On the morning of June 30th, 1908, 770 square miles in the forest of Siberia, Russia, were flattened by what would have appeared to be an explosion. Except there was no witnesses and no other evidence. Well, surviving at least. The phenomenon known as the Tunguska event has been classified by scientists as the largest impact event, which means a recordable impact between two astronomical objects such as an asteroid and the Earth in recorded history. Yet no impact crater has ever been found, which would be an important earmark of an impact event.
Exactly.
Thus, scientists can only surmise what may have happened, which may be that an asteroid exploded over the Earth and the destruction that ensued beneath it in Siberia was a result of the after effects. We've also recently had a story about it bouncing off the Earth.
Bouncing back up into the atmosphere.
Can you imagine being like a Siberian hermit and just sitting outside your cabin or whatever, and you're just outside the war zone piece, and all of a sudden, because it's so weird. Right. When you look at the trees and stuff, it goes to a certain point and stops. I can't imagine like being right outside that point.
Oh, I know.
And it's just like you see something come down, and especially if it bounced up. That to me, I remember laughing my ass off when we did the story. But I can imagine like bing, going back out. Is the Earth made of rubber?
I don't think that's exactly what they meant.
Well, that's what it sounded like. Still, yeah, it's one of the big crazies.
Right.
One of the other big crazies, the disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. This took place on March 8th, 2014. While flying over Malaysia to China, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 passengers and crew members seemed to have vanished into thin air. The multinational search effort, the largest in aviation history, has turned up a mere 20 pieces of aircraft debris. The Prime Minister of Malaysia has declined to comment other than to say the aircraft disappeared over the Indian Ocean. The lack of closure has really produced many conspiracy theories on this, and for good reason, right? Theories including hijacking, capture by the United States, crew suicide, which it was reported that the pilot was having marital problems.
Right.
I don't know if that means you take 200 and some people with you.
Right.
To a fire aboard the aircraft, vertical entry into the sea, a meteor strike, and alien abduction are the top ones. notwithstanding the passage of 3 years and the expenditure of $160 million scouring thousands of square miles of ocean. The disappearance of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 and the 239 souls aboard remain a mystery to this day. And I mean, we did find pieces of debris. I would gather a thought that, one piece of debris is enough.
Right. Because, I mean, it's not like it just fell off the plane and the rest of the plane went on.
Yeah, no. I mean, they want to know how it happened, obviously.
Right, and I'm sure they'd like to find the wreckage.
Yeah. I mean, and then it seems like that happens a lot with Indian Airlines. Mm-hmm. Am I right? I mean, I think I've heard of others in the Indian Ocean that...
Right. I mean, it must be a strange area to fly over. I don't really know.
Or a strange place to take a plane from.
There you go.
I mean, it's just like, no thanks, I'm good.
Right.
Gonna take a boat to India. I included these two because as doing my research, there were so many stories and urban legends I came across that were just cruelty to children. And it really started bothering me. Mm-hmm. So I got two after I'd read about 70 of them.
Right.
I was like, I might do a full list of the how to be mean to your kids in history. But I'm going to give you two of them.
Okay.
In Alabama, we have Huggin' Molly. That sounds really bad because I was talking about being mean to kids, and no, it's not like that. The legend of Huggin' Molly is clearly a tool used by parents to get their children to obey the rules. The story is native to Abbeville. It tells of a phantom woman who appears to children if they stay out late at night. She grips the lingering child tightly and screams in their ear. She's not meant to cause death, just one hell of a fright. And, especially if Huggin' Molly was like the town lunatic or something. She just grabbed her. Ah! I mean.
See, that wouldn't work with all kids because if she's not meant to kill you, she's just going to scare you. Some kids would be like, I want to be scared.
I bet they wouldn't once Molly got a hold of them.
Probably not.
You don't get a name like Molly and not, Anyway, in Alaska, you got the Kalyupalik. And I'm sorry, my Alaskan listeners, you can correct me on this. It's an Inuit version of a mermaid or siren. Mm-hmm. And calls the children who are wandering too close to the seashore with her humming, then takes them away in her baby pouch. The greenish woman-like creature will never return a child once taken into the depths. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand the reason for telling children stories like that, so that they wouldn't go places where they were going to get hurt. I mean, I'm sure you don't want to be walking along the seaside. There's all sorts of animals, polar bears, and
yeah, and you know
things
what?
That'll get you.
The full moon is also said to cause more bloodletting. Mm-hmm. So there's an urban legend that doctors won't operate on a full moon if they can help it because there's a chance of bleeding out.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
No, I mean, it's just an old wives' tale, kind of.
Yes, but if I ever have to have surgery, I'll schedule it for like a new moon or something.
And you don't want to go to Louisiana then on a full moon just because of the Carter brothers. Back in the early 1930s, a young woman escaped from the home of the Carter brothers in New Orleans with slash marks on her wrist. She told the police that the brothers were feeding off of her blood.
Oh.
The cops stormed the French Quarter residence where they found more young women in similar states, their blood draining out of their bodies. The brothers, now thought to be vampires, were captured and executed, only for it to be discovered years later that their crypts were empty. And, that's probably more of a tall tale.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to find any corresponding actual evidence on that, but it's a cool story.
It's cool, yeah, like legend around the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And this particular version, volume ... 2,
right,
is going to end with one that's just whoo. It's a dinger of the hums.
Okay.
We're going to end with the Salyut 7 incident.
Okay.
In July 1984, on board a Soviet space station, one of the strangest sightings of cosmic phenomena ever occurred. The event witnessed not only by a single person, but 6 individuals, all claiming to have seen the same thing. What's more, these events happened on 2 separate occasions, removing the possibilities that they were victims of some freak visual occurrence. According to the cosmonauts on board the Salyut 7, huge angel-like manifestations were present outside of the craft. They were floating above the earth and swimming through the eternal ocean of space. These humanoid creatures had distinctive wings and faces that housed a peaceful expression. They even projected overall feelings of peace and tranquility among the crew members. The account, although seeing news coverage at the time, not really came to light in a fuller manner until the end of the Cold War. Indeed, it was while the world witnessed a major Soviet propaganda victory in the space race that these events played out quietly in the background. Various theories have developed over the years, ranging from the reasonable all the way to the outrageous, depending on your perspective. While some believe the experience to be nothing more than a bizarre hallucination, others believe in a more divine answer. Some even claim these strange beings to be nothing less than actual angels. What's more, they also claim that they're here to announce the end of the world. I don't know about all that. I know that it's insane, the story. The Soyuz 7 space station launched in April of 1982, and 3 months into its third year above the planet, the mission had begun to experience a multitude of system failures. Well-documented system failures, I might add. This understandably unnerved the crew somewhat, although they didn't appear to be in any danger and proceeded with the mission. The first strange sighting occurred on the 12th of July of 1984. Out of nowhere, a strange but bright orange cloud seemed to envelop the entire space station. At first, they believed there must have been an explosion, and consequently, the orange glow was, in fact, a fire. Investigation proved this not to be the case. The 3 cosmonauts rushed to the portholes, almost blind from the brightness that flooded into the space station. When their eyes finally adjusted, each of them could clearly see huge angels outside the ship. The cosmonauts stated the angels had a wingspan akin to the size of 747 jets and were 80 feet tall. One later report stated that the entities appeared to acknowledge their presence inside the space station, even smiling at them. In all, there were 7 of these celestial entities. The men stood mesmerized by what they were seeing for 10 minutes.
Wow.
Then the angels disappeared as quickly and as quietly as they had arrived. Following the docking of the Soyuz T-12 with the Soyuz 7 on the 17th of July, 5 days after a strange sighting, 3 more cosmonauts boarded the space station. It was during this strange docking event where they were trying to, basically, that's a story all on its own, and you can read just about the docking because it's really crazy. They were able to do the spacewalk from the one space station to the other, and it was to, rescue. It's crazy. There's just a lot to the story. But that's when all 6 astronauts, the 3 new ones and the 3 that have been there, they all saw the angels again.
Wow.
And, so it's really insane because you can't put that up to stress or anything like that.
Well, no, because you have 3 cosmonauts that just arrived.
Yeah.
So they weren't subjected to anything that was up there, like it was like a gas leak or something.
Yeah, and even the 3, they all looked out different portholes. You're not going to see the same thing.
Right.
I mean, even if you're like exaggerating or anything like that.
Well, and why would they, if it was something that they were hallucinating, why would you hallucinate beings that were not in crafts in space?
Yeah.
That's not something that would just come to your mind.
Even if you're going to make it up.
Right.
And you're like, hey, let's get some press. Okay, what are we going to tell them we saw? 80-foot tall orange angels.
Yeah. Floating.
That made us feel like we're stoned. No. And they smiled at us.
Right.
It
made us feel calm.
Yeah. I know, comrade. We see 80-foot angels. And they smiled at us. No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. I firmly believe this is true. And they seen something that their mind may have put to angel. I don't know. But it was at least some humanoid type thing. And,
right.
Because the angel itself is sort of a human concept. As far as the artistic depiction.
Right.
So I don't know what they seen, but 80 feet tall, orange light, at least it smiled at me.
Right.
I'll say that much.
Very strange.
Maybe it was giants. Where'd the giants go? Well, funny you should ask. But that one is always, ever since I first heard about it, has always really intrigued me because you're dealing with the elite of the elite. You're dealing with cosmonauts. You're dealing with people that do this for a living, and then you had the 3 more that seen the same thing. It's just really intriguing and interesting, And wow, and they're probably more open with it because of being the Russians,
Right.
as their entire, I don't want to say religion, but their entire basis for their space program is pretty much off the fact that they think that we're from the stars and we need to go back.
Right. And that there's all kinds of life out there.
Yeah. So, kudos to them on that, but kudos to you on making it through volume 2 and not being so scared you wet yourself.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, strange and bizarre.
It is strange and bizarre.
Strange and bizarre things.
You know what else is strange and bizarre?
What's that?
Your news. And I think it's time.
Inside a dying world, drawn and quartered left and right, there burns a lonesome candle filled with honesty and light. Down a guarded hallway and locked within a tomb, she draws a magic sigil, says some words and follows clues. As the mainstream hills peddle fear and sing the end-time blues, our heroine from Halloween wears black and gives real news. It's now time for Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
Have any targets up here? We just had something go right over the top of us that, I hate to say this, looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast that went right over the top of us.
You don't get that every day.
No, you don't.
Pretty insane. And honestly, when that story broke, and it broke on mainstream media, but when it broke, I almost came straight on here for a story. It was all Stacey could do to keep me grounded, just because of the intensity of that sighting. And we have the story. I know we're starting the news a little bizarre, but this is big. I mean, anytime you have a pilot that says, what this pilot happened to say in a cylindrical object, and really that chatter from the airline like that, it's insane. It's wonderful. And it's exactly why we do this, because, that wasn't no bird, folks. So
All right, so let's get into this story. And this was an American Airlines passenger jet. It was traveling from Cincinnati to Phoenix, and it encountered this UFO cylindrical object. It said it was flying at around 36,000 feet. And when the incident occurred, they were over the remote northeast corner of New Mexico, kind of to the west of this little town of Des Moines. Now, we have the recording of them doing the radio transmission, but there was no response from the air traffic control because I think some local air traffic kind of cut them off. There was no significant military aircraft presence noted, and the aircraft just flew on and landed in Phoenix like it was supposed to. So it was a very strange incident. It was absolutely being investigated by the FBI. Like, if you contact American Airlines and ask them about this incident, they will not deny that there was a UFO that was spotted, but they will also say you have to talk to the FBI about this. And it's really similar to another incident that happened almost exactly 3 years ago in that same sort of area. And we talked about this when it happened. It was when the two planes saw the UFO fly right over top of them, flying the same level, like 36,000 feet. And, the one plane saw it, radioed, and then the air traffic controller radioed the other plane, was like, can you tell me if you see something coming at you? Because they didn't see it.
Right.
And then the other plane also saw the unidentified
Yeah,
object.
I remember that like it was yesterday, because it was such a big deal to have that same kind of chatter and that same kind of event. So anytime you have the pilots involved, it always adds a little bit of credibility to it.
Right.
Because it's so odd to get these reports that are actually put out there. And I don't think this would have been if it hadn't been picked up, right?
Right. And it was weird that it was a cylindrical shaped object. Like, they were very specific about the shape of it. And clearly pilots, if they saw other aircraft, would know what other aircraft would look like.
Yeah. I mean, thank God it wasn't a cruise missile.
Right.
I mean, but to say it was, obviously we hear about this cigar shape, right? Quite often. And that sounds like what you're dealing with here. So just really insane that they captured this, that they seen this. Planes need dashboard cameras. I don't know if they have them, but not that we would get to see it. But
no, this is true. So a couple days later, the FAA eventually released a statement about the incident, but it doesn't really say anything. All it says is that a pilot reported seeing an object over New Mexico shortly after noon local time on Sunday, February 21st, and that the FAA air traffic controllers did not see any object in the area on their radar scopes. That is the only statement that they made. So they're also not denying that there was something there. They're just saying that, no air traffic controller caught any other object. The reason that's important is because sometimes they try to explain things away by, it was this other kind of aircraft, it was just at an odd angle, or, it was this or that, and this kind of dispels that there wasn't anything that they would know about up there because they didn't catch anything on their radar. Like, air traffic didn't see it at all.
That's pretty cool.
So it's really crazy. It's unusual. I don't remember ever hearing that the FBI investigated a sighting like this.
Well, I mean, obviously it happens.
It's one of those situations where if you ask the FBI, they won't confirm or deny.
Well, yeah, and that always means...
that always means they're doing it.
Yeah. But, I mean, they have to look into this because it was with a commercial airlines jet.
True.
And, anytime that it's something like that and it's not, Cousin Harry's farm, I'm sure if you call in and you're like, I think my sheep got molested by a cylindrical object, they're not gonna send the FBI. More than likely. I mean, maybe they do.
Right.
Sheep incidents, it's like some kind of file somewhere we'll hear about one day. Ben Hanson's gonna be on there and be like, "Hi, I'm Ben Hanson, and years ago I found a problem with sheep incidents, and I'm privy to a whole locker full of sheep incident files."
I would believe anything that he, if he said he investigated it and found whatever, I'd believe it.
Yeah, he's got a great show. He really does. If you guys haven't watched it, you need to watch it. But listen, this story is big. It's really big, and I'm sure it'll go away quickly because they tend to, but it'll live in lore forever.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to think about the area it is out west like that.
Yeah.
You get a lot of sightings out there. The fact that you've had previous sightings by pilots in the same area, the same type of thing, and, nobody's not acknowledging it. Like, everybody acknowledges that something happened. They just won't say what it is.
So how many of these happen that are not picked up by amateur ham radio operators or whatever it was?
Right. I have no idea. I mean, there could be hundreds that happen and people just don't report it or talk about it. Right.
We've talked about this several times, like jobs for people don't want to lose their job. And so they don't report things or they don't want to look crazy or whatever. And you just want to have this anonymous setup where people can get a hold of you and just tell you, they don't even have to tell you where it was going or what day it was going, just that you'll believe them and you can talk to them about it or whatever.
Right.
That would be great.
One thing I found really interesting about this particular sighting is the UFO went directly over top of the airplane.
Right.
It is a passenger airplane, which means there were people on it.
Yeah.
So if it had not gone directly over top,
it
would have been seen by other people. So it seems like a very deliberate action by whatever this was.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the treaty.
Oh, I see.
I'm sure that when Eisenhower signed that treaty, he was like, hey, if you could, try not flying beside the damn planes.
If you could go over top where nobody can see you.
We'll come up with a term for it. Turbulence. So every time it happens, we'll say we hit some turbulence.
Right.
Which would not be good for me because I hit the worst turbulence of all time coming from North Carolina one time. It's the worst trip. I mean, there's a bunch of trips that one I would like to get abducted from. I mean, the trip that you have to take, because sometimes when you live where I live here at the moment, you might have to go to Charlotte or Atlanta, because you got a connector to get on an actual airplane.
Right. A real size airplane.
An actual jet after you take the twin engine murder machine.
Right.
From the Tri-Cities Airport where I live. And it is horrifying to go over the mountain from North Carolina to Tennessee. Okay? You're just barely making it. Like, it's just like, oh, hey, that's a big mountain. Didn't realize how tall that was since the plane can't get much higher than this. But I came back from Charlotte, and it was like a Twilight Zone episode. It was a storm. I mean, there was the wind. There was it's like, I'll wait, really. Is
there another flight in a few hours? It's fine.
Then I'm like, I was asking somebody who'd flown like a million times, I was like, well, we'll be okay, though, because, we'll get above the clouds. We ain't gonna get above the clouds in this thing. We're right in the middle of the damn thing, and then we had a weird kind of turbulence where the wind does something weird and like molest you while you're up there. It was like, what's going on now? Oh, it's just the wind and shit. Slingshot us sideways. I mean, it was bad, man.
I hate it when you hit those quote air pockets and the plane just drops really quickly.
Yeah, no,
I hate that.
This had the floating objects and stuff because it was it was weird, man. I just know it's the best place to like if you could have an active church on a plane. And they would allow me just to go up there and be like, I want my congregation to be on planes. I don't care if it's the same plane or not. I'm going to go there. That's where I'm going to take the donations. That's where I'm going to get saved. Man, I would have so many in my flock, especially just that flight. I'm going to be the in-air chaplain from Charlotte to Tennessee.
I don't know if I would take a flight if they always employed an in-air chaplain. I'd be like, I don't think I want on that one.
I know the best part about it is I was joking about my pilot before it began because it was one of his first flights. And it literally, you remember when Leonardo DiCaprio did that movie, Catch Me If You Can? He's got like the pilot thing on. It was like he looked old compared to this kid.
Right.
Leo doesn't look old now.
Right.
It was literally like Doogie Howser, airline captain.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, look at this kid. It don't even fit him. It really didn't. And he's the one that got me through it. So I'm kind of glad that it wasn't like old drunk McGee,
right.
Up there, like Airline Johnson, just like,
it's up there like I've seen worse.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Give me a little nip here. I'll be fine. But I hate my life. The things you don't want to hear is like a co-pilot. I hate my life, kid. Don't ever get married. Just good stuff. I did find out though, from something we were watching on television, which is really cool and doesn't go off this story at all. But the space is like the Wild West. Like there's no space law.
Right. There's not.
Once you get up there, it's like international waters. It's a frontier. You do what you want.
Right.
And that got me thinking. I wonder if these guys that own these private companies send crazy stuff up there, like space steals. You know what I mean? Like they're just because I would, if I was Elon Musk, I would be right now. You mean
the man that sent a car?
Yeah. Well, I'd be up there fermenting the first like space wine. There
you are.
Wouldn't that be cool? Be like,
sell it for a fortune.
Yeah, man, just like Milky Way.
That's a terrible name for wine.
Well, all right. Sorry. How about
you need a marketing department?
Cosmos.
There you go. That's better.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, the new marketing department, my ass. Go ahead, go on with your stupid news.
All right, well, let's just go on with some space news since we were talking about UFOs. All right, so this first one is a story about the NASA rover and how it beamed back the first sounds ever recorded from the surface of Mars.
Oh, I want to hear.
All right, well, we'll just play them first. How's that?
Cool. Oh, well, I was expecting something different.
So basically,
I was expecting like some kind of...
It was audio clips that captured by two microphones that are mounted on Perseverance. And at first, there's like a faint buzzing noise that can be heard in the background. That's just sound from the rover itself. But about 10 seconds in, you could hear the wind blowing.
Yes.
So it's the wind, the first sounds that have been sent back from the Perseverance rover. Now, the lead engineer for Perseverance's camera and microphone subsystem, his name is Dave Gruhl.
What?
That's his name.
You're putting me on.
No, Dave. I'm going to hear. Look, Dave Gruhl.
Oh, really?
He's a sound guy.
Of the coup fighters?
He was very excited about these sounds that were sent back. He was saying when they released them during the press conference, when they released the audio, he kept saying, it's cool, it's really neat, it's overwhelming, if you will. And
Did he say, if you will?
He did.
It's overwhelming, if you will.
And he's claiming that the rover will continue to capture sounds from Mars as the mission gets underway. And they're really counting on both of the instruments to catch some really amazing sounds from the surface of Mars. I don't really want to hear it unless it comes back and somebody's like, hello, is this thing on?
Yeah, no, I would like to get like 2 hours uninterrupted audio from Mars so I could do EVP research.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
How awesome would it be to take the audio, put it through something, just listen, or how cool it would be if we do get EVPs. And
that would be cool, yeah.
I mean, it's just like, oh my God. Is that an asteroid? Just something. Just something that tells us, like, turn around.
An EVP of the spirit that...
Don't pursue the treasure.
The spirit that accidentally attached itself to the rover, not knowing what it was.
Yeah.
And now it's like, where am I?
If I worked at NASA, I would totally get a mascot dog that ran through the facility and would just call him Rover. And so he could be the NASA rover. And wouldn't that be
Of course
cute?
you'd have to call him Rover, yes.
That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. Well, still speaking of Mars, they sent back, pictures, panoramic pictures and stuff. You can go online, very high definition pictures. They're 360 degrees. You can scroll them around. They're really cool looking. But one of the things that happened when they showed the video of the rover landing was NASA left a hidden message on the parachute of the rover.
Oh, wow.
And they did claim that there were gonna be all kinds of Easter eggs. So if you watch the videos of the mission and things that are happening, there are Easter eggs all over the place.
Wow, like literal Easter eggs or?
Not literal eggs, but
It's NASA, so I didn't know. There's Easter eggs over everything NASA does. Like, oh, hey, yeah, we meant for you to find that pyramid if you lightened up the picture.
And we just superimposed that in there. It was funny. So NASA revealed that it had hidden a secret color-coded message on the parachute for the Perseverance rover that landed on Mars last week. And it was written by systems engineer Ian Clark in binary code through alternating white and orange stripes on the inside of the parachute. And the message that it spelled out was NASA's motto that says, "Dare mighty things." And the lead developer of the parachute, it was really funny because when he decided he wanted to do it, he had to go to his superiors and say, can I put this message in there? Or, is this something that I'm allowed to do? And all they said was, make sure that it was appropriate and couldn't be misinterpreted. But it was really logistically a problem because he had to use the colors that were already tested. They had to test colors for the parachute because you don't know what kind of other colors will absorb different heats or not be hot enough. Everything had already been tested and approved, so he had to use the colors that were already tested and figure out what kind of message he wanted to put in there. So he put that in there, and then around the edge of the parachute, he did the binary code for the GPS coordinates of mission headquarters at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. So it was really cool. I think it only took internet detectives like a few hours to decode it. So he decided he needs to be a little more creative next time, a little more clever with
you make it look like it's one thing, but it's actually something else. And when they find the first thing, they're like, yeah, look what I found. But it's actually something else. So you can come back on them and go, no, you didn't. And
that's true.
If I worked on it, it'd just be a big dick. It would be like
I think that would be deemed, under the make sure it's appropriate.
No. I'm talking about the coordinates. Like I'd put like GPS coordinates where I had a cornfield.
Oh, I see.
Where
And then people would look and it would be...
I had a UFO crop circle of a penis.
I guess that would be a loophole because technically you didn't put anything inappropriate
No,
on the parachute.
not a bit.
There you go. So there are other Easter eggs. I believe that there's a plate on the rover that the camera uses to sort of adjust its vision, like calibrate itself. And in between the colors it uses to calibrate, there are little circles that have things like a DNA strand. One of the circles has the man and woman waving, like on the naked people on the plaque that was on the Pioneer that you like so much.
Yeah, man, yeah, because it's out of the solar system now.
Right.
It's I love that, and so it's the same people.
Yeah, well, they're not naked now.
What?
It's just like it's a little tiny picture. There's
Oh
just
my
silhouettes.
God!
Just silhouettes.
How
of
could you
people.
make them not naked?
Well, it's a tiny picture.
The aliens are never gonna come now. They're gonna be like, screw that place. Those apes, they know how to wear clothes. It's because it was fun before. It was like, hey, Johnson, open game. I mean, those two folks were like, they would never pass now anyway. They were so white.
Right.
I mean, that was like Joe and Jill White. It would never make it. Like there's no like trying to mix them up a little bit or
right.
Black woman, white man, or just having like a mix of all races in one person, which is like the dude I went to school with. It was crazy. His name was like Juliet. It was really weird, but he would like, yeah, I'm not sure, man. And but he sounded very redneck,
right?
But he was like a little bit. He's like, I'm a little bit Native American, a little bit African. I mean, just had everything in him. I was like, how do you have all that? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, so both your parents.
Interesting family tree.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. He was the coolest guy ever. He liked every kind of music too. But anyway, though, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah.
I mean, the clothes thing really bothers me because it's going to go out of style.
Right.
You can't.
Well, no, they weren't wearing clothes, honey. They're just complete silhouette. They're all black, just colored in black, the whole thing.
Oh, that could be sexy.
Yeah.
Like
it's
from
just
the side, maybe?
It's just an outline. No.
Got like that side lean going.
Okay, I'm just going to look up a picture and show you.
Well, I mean, it's so iconic, right? This is funny for you. Okay, so you know how I am like the non-tattooed former metal singer.
Right.
Because I felt that conforming would have been getting the tattoo. And it just is just a thing for me. All my friends always were tatted out or tattoo artists. And so I don't have any problem with that because I'm around it all the time.
Right.
And then get into wrestling, God knows. Everybody, I mean, that's just what they do. I literally used to go to parties where they were tattooing during the party. My practice room in the band was in the back of a tattoo parlor. I mean, it could have been any time, but I came up with like several tattoos over the years that I wanted to get, and I always had this rule. And this rule I've never even shared with you. It's the same rule I've had. I have not wavered on this, and you know how I am about my personal convictions.
Yes.
If I decide, well, I'm going to lose weight, I lose weight. It's just like my personal convictions I'm really strong to. I have a 3-month rule.
Okay.
If I want to do something to my body, I come up with the idea and I wait 3 months. I won't say anything about it. I'll, sometime in the first month, I may tell somebody, like,
right.
I really want to get this. We should, and I'll never say, let's go right now. I'm always like, let's, we should pick a day and do this because I'm trying to get through my 3 months. I have yet to make it through that 3 months, where at the end of the 3 months, I'm like, yeah, that was a good idea. Because we have a lot of passing fancies.
Right.
Especially you and I.
Yes, we do.
I mean, because right now we would have like the 10th Doctor, the 11th Doctor, like so many different things. We'd run out of space. So I always wanted it to be very, very, very special.
We'd own a lot of crap too if we just bought things we saw.
Yeah. No, we have to control our impulses because we are very impulsive.
We have to be like, let's just leave this here, and if we still want it when we're leaving the store.
That's why we stay away from alcohol. I mean, you talk about fun dates. Me and Stacey together, Jesus Lord. I mean, it's the books that will be written. You just wait. They're all going to wait because we're crazy too. So they're not going to write the books yet. Be like, no, those show up at our house with the dog outside. No, anyway, I wouldn't do that. I saw John Wick. The tattoo is the naked kids. Like that's like the I want it the man and the woman
Right.
tattoo from the Pioneer.
That's a very strange tattoo.
No, man. No. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it on my back with the symbols too.
Well, I'll tell you what, that actually could be good. You should get the whole thing tattooed on you since, eventually we're going to shoot you off into space anyway.
Yeah.
Right? You could just be the next thing that the aliens find.
So are we shooting me off into space or are you going to stuff me? Because I thought we were going to have me in the corner.
Oh, I didn't know that you really were okay with that.
Yeah, all the kids seem fine with it.
Yeah, okay. No, I would prefer
I was
to keep
surprised by how
you. It would be less expensive to stuff you and put you in the corner.
I was surprised by how uncreeped out they were. Like it really.
That's because we haven't done it yet.
that was really cool to me. Like how can they make you like when they stuff you like that? Okay, so when you die, you get rigor mortis, right? So the rigor mortis, does that like make everything stiff?
I have no idea. Not an expert on rigor mortis.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, I don't want to be stuffed unless I'm like full mast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like some kind of silicone injection.
So you're telling me I can't stuff you unless you have a Woody?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just want it laying on my leg.
I thought you wanted the kids to see you.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be wearing jeans.
Right.
I mean, we have to cover my legs because I'm afraid it'll start decaying if I have my shorts on. So,
oh, wow.
Anyway, I'm serious about it because you were going to plant me as a tree, which I'm totally against.
Okay.
Unless we do it together.
I was going to make you into a diamond, but that would require cremating you, and you don't want to be cremated.
So no.
I can't do that.
No, you can't. Do not cremate me.
But I was just going to wear you around my neck.
Yeah, but no, don't cremate me.
Okay, no cremation.
No. Nothing that...
Can I cut off like a finger?
Holy God.
Cremate the finger and then use that to make a diamond? No? Okay, never mind.
No. Jesus, Hollywood.
It's just a question.
Yeah.
I wonder if I just took it to the funeral home, like, could you just burn this part?
The guy would be like, actually, this cat named Army Hammer was in here last week asking the same thing. It's the strangest ordeal. And no, we can't. You're a creepy person.
You want to be stuffed in the corner of my house after you pass.
Because I had to come up with alternative versions of my death because you're always dreaming of something. The underlying fact to all these is I'm dead.
Right.
How do you think I feel? You're always like, honey, we're going to shoot you in space or we're going to make a suppository out of it.
These are things that you've all asked for. We could go back through the show.
Yeah, the first thing you asked for was some kind of toy.
I did not ask you for that. That was your idea.
No.
Yes. Do we need to go back and listen to all our episodes? That was totally your idea.
You got off base with this. We need to go to the next story.
Well, let's finish this story.
Oh, is it not done?
Well, no, because we were talking about all the Easter eggs, and I was telling you about the little things that were in between the camera calibration circles.
Of course.
There was one with a dinosaur on it,
Why?
which I thought was weird because there aren't dinosaurs here now.
Well, I mean,
one with like a strand of DNA and a picture of like the solar system.
There's dinosaurs. They've got an island. Listen,
Jurassic Park is real.
Just like I've been told by people in the know, and let me do my fingers, in the know.
That was him making air quotes.
Well, at least I really do it now, huh?
That's right.
But I've been told by people in the know that if you see it on television, okay, it's probably happened.
Right.
If they talk about, well, in 20 years, we'll be, having sex with robots and there's somebody getting busy with,
right.
Beep-boop.
Right.
So I really, truly, honestly believe that there's an island somewhere that they have some dinosaurs they've been
cloning.
Yeah, man. They've already found, trapped in amber somewhere.
Right.
And of course, knowing our scientists, they probably created the world's largest splooge of amber. It's like, Johnson, what the hell is this? I cloned it, sir. You cloned the amber. I wanted the bug.
Oops.
He's in there.
It's a great big bug.
Yeah, just looking around of his eyes. Can't move.
Great big piece of amber. Oh, God. Some other Easter eggs. There's a plaque on the Perseverance that I think you can see in one of the photos, and it's got a picture on it that's like one of those family things you'd put on the back of a car. Only this one is all of the previous NASA rovers.
Oh.
By size, kind of lined. There's like 5 of them there, and so it's sort of all on that plaque.
That's
there.
really cool.
It's kind of cute, yes. And they did claim that there will be more Easter eggs, especially when they deploy the 7-foot arm that starts taking pictures underneath the rover.
Oh my God.
And then
the 7-foot arm sounds
in a few weeks when it starts moving, I suppose.
That sounds very interesting.
Yes. But I don't know if it's just their way to get people to watch the mission footage, or if they just like having fun, or, nerd scientists are nerdy, so they do nerdy things.
Dude, the level of nerd to be a NASA scientist is... Now, we have NASA scientists that listen to the show. Uh-huh. Not a drove of them.
Right.
They're, in fact, speaking of drove, we've drove off just as many from the baffled scientist thing. Some people take a good joke, because some people are like, well, Jesus, is he there? Does he watch us? But I
know Johnson listens to it.
Johnson does listen to us. There's a Johnson or two that love the show.
Right.
Just because they're always laughing about the Johnson thing.
I'm Johnson.
But, I don't think anybody would ever get offended.
Are you the Johnson of the company?
Yeah, we gotta make like some kind of actual caricature of Johnson.
Right.
That always looks the same. Like if you're an artist and you want to start drawing for the show, there's a couple of things I could really use. You need to contact us, and we'll do something like give you Patreon for free, or something. I mean, it's not going to be a whole lot.
Right.
I'll send you like a dick pic or something. But a picture of my friend Dick.
Right. You didn't say it was you.
Yeah, we didn't claim whose, right? So, but no, it's we could use it because there's 2 things, and the best place to advertise is right here on the YouTube videos. There's a lot of cutouts we've been doing, and there's more we want to do, but we want them to be little clips of the show. Say this section, and it's something funny and something educational, obviously to draw viewers and to draw new listeners and subscribers, but also to I have a cool archive of some of the better stories for people. And there's some I enjoy going back and listening to that, it's like, where are they at? It's the same reason we started denoting where the stories were on each podcast, which is, I love that. Actually having the timestamps in case you want to go back and tell somebody a story.
Right.
So I'm looking for an artist to put up some kind of, it doesn't have to be funny, but what we're talking about, some kind of graphic, some kind of cartoon graphic of, maybe a caricature of me and Stacey, always involved. Like this one would be like me and Stacey with the rover in the background, and something funny like that with the kids thing, the bumper sticker on it, and the naked people from the Pioneer, or me and Stacey as the naked people. That's actually what this one needs to be. I might actually try to draw that one myself, but actually I would like somebody who had talent do it. Some of the god awful concoctions that I've done so far, you can find on our YouTube at youtube.com/paranormal sideshow. I've attempted this, folks, and I am not.
I've attempted a few. They're not
fantastic. I like Stacey's better than mine. I really do, because Stacey stays pure, simple, art class dropout level stuff. Mine is really trying to get, because I'm a perfectionist at heart.
Right.
So mine is trying to get something grand, but failing miserably. So you can see the idea that I was going for a lot of times.
Right.
And I've literally spent like 3 hours on one before and just been like, delete,
Don't use this.
and then just draw something stupid really quick. But we'd love to have an artist that, works on a show. And I don't care if it takes 2 seconds to draw it. It'd be really cool. Something you could do on your computer or something would be great. It'd be nice if I bought my wife a, several $1,000 iPad Pro to be able to do it on. But
that is what I draw on.
Yeah, you draw on it all right. Could got you a notebook. But no, just something cool, like that would be great. Just so putting it out there. because this would
So
be.
what do you want, a caricature of Johnson?
Well, yeah, a caricature of Johnson that we could always put on the Johnson stories. It'd be
That's
funny.
true.
Like we
That's
need
true.
we need Gran Antonio, we need, all those. But I think just having the little segments for our cutaways for the show, we could send you an email every week of, hey, there's going to be these 4 segments we cut off. It's going to be dealing with this, and then have you send back the deal, and we'll send you a lot of thank yous, and we'll credit you on the show, on every single show, as the artist there. So
Yes.
if you got some kind of fledgling art business, or you do that for a living, then because we used to have some really good digital graphics makers that listen to our older shows. I know, like Third Side, Haunted South. We had, you remember Casey? Casey was awesome. He would send us stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And like when you're drawing Johnson, every company, anywhere anybody ever works, everybody's got a Johnson that works there. I mean, you know who that guy is or that girl is, right? I don't care if Johnson's a girl. That would be even funnier at this point because we've never really made that.
We've never made
It's
that
always Johnson.
depiction. Yeah.
But either way, everybody's got a Johnson, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you work somewhere and you don't know who the Johnson is, it's you. just so you know. Isn't that the rule of thumb?
Yeah.
Every friend group has that one person that's always a butthole, and if you don't know who it is,
it's you.
it's you.
If that's the case, then don't worry about the offer. It's fine. It's really okay. Moving on.
All right, so while we're talking about Mars, let's just do a couple more stories. So this one is about a study that says that there's evidence that Mars once had an atmosphere with less oxygen.
Oh, you don't say.
So a doctoral student at the University of Hong Kong used some remote sensing data from the surface of Mars, and what he found was that Mars didn't used to have a significant amount of oxygen in its atmosphere. And it kind of prompts the question of wondering where all the oxygen that exists in the atmosphere now came from. Because there's more oxygen now than there used to be, is what he's claiming.
Well, that would come from the, all the cities underneath the surface.
Well, they're saying, could it possibly be biosignature for life? I mean, it's another story of, could this be a sign that there's some sort of life there? Now, it says that such a low oxygen environment was present on Earth as well billions of years ago. And then we switched to an oxygen-rich atmosphere, and it was some kind of sort of event called the Great Oxidation Event. And scientists believe that the reason that this happened was multicellular life performing photosynthesis and replenishing oxygen in the atmosphere. So now you have Mars here that supposedly has gained oxygen in its atmosphere. And what is the cause of that?
Well, I mean, I believe that Mars lost its oxygen, so it had quite a bit to start with. And there could be some weird stuff, just under the surface or whatever. It's hard to tell. Or they could be completely wrong because they have been many, many times. This is a student from freaking Hong Kong. So who knows?
He's a doctoral student, though, so he's been in school a long time.
I believe that's all they make.
All right, so let's just do this one last story. This is a story about rock bits from Mars. So supposedly some scientists have grown microbes on actual bits of rock from Mars. Now, the only sample that we have from Mars right now are just some chunks of meteorite that were dislodged and smacked into Earth. And they took a small piece of it and they ground it up and they used it to grow microbes so that it demonstrates that life could actually exist in real Martian conditions.
Wow.
So everybody's just trying to find the life
Yeah,
before they find the life.
I accidentally grew something on some Ritz bits one time, but I've never,
Were they like under the bed or
I've
something?
never messed with rock bits, but I know that whatever grew on the Ritz bits could probably cure the plague. So,
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, it's a really interesting study if you read this article, and it talks about how on ancient Mars, billions of years ago, they're fairly certain that the atmosphere was thick and rich in carbon dioxide, and that they have a sample of some rock that made up the Martian crust, a long time ago when the planet was just a baby. And so they've done this bold, new study to try and grow microbes, and apparently it worked.
Oh, that's really cool.
So I don't know, very interesting.
It just worked on Earth.
It's interesting to me that they're like, we talked about this before, how scientists are all of a sudden so okay with the whole life on Mars thing. They're all looking for it. They're all like, oh, well, we're pretty sure that's probably the way it is.
Yeah. Because they know, right?
Right. They're trying to be in, like when it's finally found, they want to be like, oh, yeah, we've been saying that for years.
Yeah,
whatever.
That's like when your girlfriend starts saying, I think I'm okay with, maybe having an open relationship. I mean, if you really think that girl's cute, then she's. Yeah.
You don't even need to finish that thought,
Stuff just don't happen like that, just out of the blue, just so you know.
There you go. All right, so let's move on to this next story. This one's so interesting. It's about the mysterious jars that are in Laos. The burial ones, they call it the Plain of Jars.
Yeah, that's cool.
So just to give a little backstory on these jars, these are in Laos. Now, Laos is, bordered by China and Myanmar and Vietnam. It's kind of landlocked area.
Yeah, I've heard of Laos recently.
And there are sites there where they have like more than 90 jar sites where they have these megalithic type jars that are carved out of stones, and they don't really know exactly what they're for. They vary in height from like 1 meter to 3 meters, and they're all hewn from rock.
Yeah, and they thought that they were like funeral things at first. And
right, they're cylindrical. The bottom is always wider than the top. And they don't have lids. They have found some lids here and there, but they don't know that they all had lids on them. And I think that the theory is that perhaps they are funeral jars.
By the way, I said that was poo-poo when they first thought that.
Right. Well, there's this article now that says we finally know the true age of these huge mysterious jars scattered in Laos. So they've been trying to get there to study these, megalith weird jars, and it's really hard because there's a lot of unexploded bombs in the area. I mean, it's not a very nice area. It's a lot of things that had been dropped there in the 60s, and a lot of people die when they go there, innocent people, just randomly walking over these unexploded ammunitions. So they don't get there and study them as often as they'd like.
Pretty lousy.
But in recent years, there have been some expeditions within certain selected safe sites, and archaeologists are now making important discoveries about the jars. And according to their analysis, they use this technique called optically simulated luminescence, and they're trying to date the ancient stone. And it turns out that their findings say that they were positioned potentially as early as the late 2nd millennium BCE. And evidence that was discovered about the mortuary practices in the area with like radiocarbon dating suggested that the mortuary practices, the burials and stuff, were between 9th and 13th century CE. So according to this new evidence, the Plain of Jars predates the most recent and confirmed discovery of mortuary practices.
Right.
So, I mean, by potentially thousands of years.
Yeah, and what I said when this was first brought up was the fact that just because some, homeless Laosians, crawled in these damn jars and died doesn't necessarily mean that they were, made for funeral rites. I really don't believe that was it.
Right.
That's a hell of a lot of effort.
It is, just to do a burial.
Yeah.
So this new study strongly suggests that they, like you said, they were being reused. They weren't there for that specific purpose.
People throwing their uncle in there.
And examination of these jars in one site suggests that they were most likely quarried from a site that was 5 miles away.
Right.
So, how they were created, it's the same with any kind of megalithic site. Why was it taken so far? How was it done? How was it transported and set up? I mean, there are hundreds of these. Some of these sites, it ranges from like one jar there to maybe hundreds in one site.
And that's not counting the ones that, got blown up when Johnson went looking for them.
Right, exactly. So it's definitely still a huge mystery, but they have now this study to somewhat accurately, what they think, age them. Yeah. To prove that they are older than what they thought before. So.
Oh my God.
What?
I know what they're for.
Oh, what's that?
It's so obvious now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a freaking, it's, the old giants. I mean, when we had giants all over the earth.
Okay.
It's a damn game.
Oh, do you think?
They took
it?
They took the Costa Rican balls.
Right.
And tried hitting the Laos baskets.
Wow.
It's like the oldest form of basketball.
You think the Costa Rican spheres would fit in the Laos jars?
Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Maybe they're trying to knock them over like a carnival game.
Well, maybe that's
Maybe
true.
they were stacked up and
maybe that's true. I would rather you measure my balls first before you just assume they can't fit in that hole.
All right. Shall we move on?
We shall.
All right. So let's talk about some Viking Age artifacts that were discovered on the Isle of Man.
Great place for them, number one. But something else has been happening a lot. Mm-hmm. We went a long time, and it was always like, well, we don't really know anything about the Vikings except there were Vikings, and we have this one, this one Pelakada here, and it's we don't have anything else. But we can use the horned helmet because we don't know. and by the way, because they didn't know, I always argued the fact that there was just as much argument for the freaking horned helmet as there was for not having one.
Right.
Just because you found 10 Vikings and none of them had a horned helmet, maybe they weren't cool.
That's true. Maybe they weren't important enough.
I mean,
maybe you had to be important.
Yeah, you could find 10 of us and none of us have do-rags, but it doesn't mean nobody wore one,
It's very true.
I mean, it's just that kind of stuff really bothers me. Or, you normally find, they know where battles happened.
Right.
So a lot of times you find the warriors, right? Mm-hmm. So if you find our soldiers, it doesn't necessarily mean that every damn one of us, like if it's 10,000 years from now.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure that the Americans all wore green and these netted helmets, I mean, no.
It must have been a terrible society. They all wore bulletproof vests.
Yeah, and they had naked mermaids tattooed on their arms. The whole lot of them, It
was a religious symbol.
Yeah, and they called it Mom. We believe it was a maternal god that they had. This fish lady with the big knockers and the love mom right above it.
There was a certain sect that had hearts with knives in them.
Yes.
We don't know what they were called.
Yeah, we called them knife hearts. We think that it was a clan that that lived in a land called Marine.
Oh Lord.
But I'm just saying it doesn't mean.
Right, I understand.
That's everyone.
I totally agree with you.
It's just they always look at that and they're just like, well, they had this, they had that, and no, they didn't. That's just one little piece of a big puzzle. Quit being so generalized about everything. You and your sweeping statements.
All right, so Isle of Man. Collection of Viking artifacts was found, and they are believed.
I was going to say we found a crap ton of Viking stuff lately.
Yes, we have. So I think you got off your point a little bit, but yes, we have. So the find, which is considered to be internationally significant, and it's believed to be more than 1,000 years old, consists of a gold arm ring, a large silver brooch, at least one silver armband, and some other associated finds that were all Viking, and they're believed to have been buried in about 950 AD. Now, these were found late last year by an amateur metal detectorist on private land. We're hearing that word a lot since we mentioned it, aren't we?
We are. They Bobby Dazzle everything.
Well, now the Isle of Man has what's called the Isle of Man Treasure Act of 2017. And this act says that when archaeological artifacts are found there, it's a legal obligation for the findings to be reported to the Manx National Heritage. Now, if the artifacts fall under the categories of the act, they have to also be reported to someone called the Coroner of Inquests. And then the coroner decides whether or not an artifact is going to be considered a treasure. And if it's found to be so, then a financial reward is usually paid to the finder or the landowner, but those things are kept with the heritage. They're, you don't get to keep them.
Do you know how you figure that out?
How?
Was it gold?
Well, this particular article says that these Viking Age artifacts have been declared as treasure. Mm-hmm. So it's very important for them. They think it's a very important find. And
we're going to pay you with an Isle of Manwich.
The metal detectorist that discovered the artifacts, her name was Kath Giles. And she
also
claimed,
a special album of the long version from Manfred Mann Band. All special here on the Isle of Man.
She said that she knew straight away that what she had uncovered was significant. So she reported it right away and has worked with the Manx National Heritage and the government to, go back and forth with the coroner of inquest to make sure everything was legal.
Coroner of inquest.
I love the name, the coroner of inquests.
Yeah, it sounds like a coroner you need to keep your eye on.
It does say in this article, they made sure that the site that she found them was documented so that there was no further objects remaining that she maybe have missed. And they claim that it's pretty rare because gold items were not very common during the Viking Age. It was mostly silver.
From
was
what
a
they
more
found.
common metal for trading and displaying wealth. And they claimed that the gold was worth 10 times the value of silver. So that arm ring could have been the equivalent of like 900 silver coins.
Mm-hmm.
And it did talk about here about some gentlemen that found a really large hoard of treasure on the Isle of Man last year. I think last year they reported was their biggest year of treasure finds in the area. But these two gentlemen found something that was worth probably $1 million and they didn't report it. And those two gentlemen are still in prison.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like it's very serious
Yeah,
business.
and it's the last place you want to go to prison.
Right.
The Isle of Man prison is, let's just say, it's not very, poor guys.
All right, so interesting find there. All right, so let's move on. So let's talk about this new internet thing that's happening.
This newfangled internet.
It's
We think you're going to be able to look stuff up, like on one page.
This is a Vice.
Netscape Navigator.
This is a Vice article, and it talks about this website called the Sigil Engine. And this is for internet occultists.
Yeah.
That are trying to change reality with a magical algorithm that will
sure
give
they
you
are.
a sigil instead of, doing it yourself. So for anyone...
Sounds like something like a paranormal couple that's on TV a lot would come up with.
Well, let me explain how sigils work. So a sigil is
engine.
a symbol that's used for magical practices.
My partner Raina here, she's been sigil engineering all.
And typically a magical practitioner would create one from scratch. And the way they do it is you would write down whatever you want to achieve, whatever you want to manifest.
You can make a lot out of scratch.
You would write it down and you would take out any of the vowels or repeating letters, and then you would take the remaining letters and you would put them into some sort of pleasing arrangement,
It's a Welsh sigil engine.
whatever you...
Take out all the vowels.
Whatever kind of pleasing arrangement you want. A lot of people put them in circles, things like that. And you put it into an arrangement, and that is your sigil. And then you take your sigil and you, what they call charge it. In other words, you put all of your intention into it. You meditate, sing at it, whatever you're comfortable doing.
Right.
And then that supposedly is what you use in your magic to create your whatever you want to manifest.
Right.
So it's a very common practice for people that do, sigil magic a lot. So this is a new internet thing called the Sigil Engine. It's supposed to automate the whole process for you, trying to make it more accessible and easier and a quicker thing for you to do to create your sigil for you.
For the lazy witch.
Exactly. Now, the people that created it are very into the occult, and they
Money.
supposedly, when they wrote the code, they put in all kinds of like thelemic texts and just tons of different things, and they wrote the code so that every time you create a sigil, it would be unique. And for you, it doesn't save any of your, like once you type it in, and they create it, it doesn't save any of your information. It takes into consideration the speed of how fast you type and, what you're asking for. And it's supposed to be all like, they wanted it to seem very ritualistic. So when you go to the website, there's like a black background and it's red and sparkly, and it's supposed to be...
So was my Angel Fire website from 1999.
And it was released late last year, but supposedly it's been used more than 300,000 times with people typing in their magical intentions and then trying to, use those to manifest what they want.
Oh, it works. It's just not,
Now, the article's really interesting. If you go through and read it, it does walk you through the whole process, but they do talk about one of your favorite comic book writers, Grant Morrison.
Yes.
Who is also a chaos magician.
Yes.
And talks about manifesting things all the time. He believes in this. He says, look, it works. I just mean using the sigils, not technically this website. I don't think that he's endorsed the website. No. I'm just saying they use quotes from him talking about, using sigils. Like they even used a quote he had from some conference like back in 2000 that says, I'm here to tell you to try it when you go home tonight because it works. He used an expletive in there. And he says, we're dealing with some kind of operating system that can be hacked. Use your words. The words seem to bind this whole thing, whatever it is, and you can change your destiny. You can manifest what you want and change, your reality.
Right.
And absolutely use it. So, I personally believe that it, sigils work, chaos magic works. You can manifest things into your life. I don't know how well it will work through a website. I haven't tried it myself. I just feel like it takes a personal touch out of it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they believe in it, though, right?
I suppose. I mean, if you really believe in it and you believe that it's really working, I mean, we do live in a very technical society now. Personally, I like the hands-on, straight from scratch, do-it-yourself approach, making it personal.
I know you do.
But there you go. You can go and just, I guess, Google search Sigil Engine and try it out for yourself.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. I mean, Grant Morrison is an evil bastard, if you guys don't know. Right?
I didn't know he was a chaos magician.
Oh, he's all kinds of stuff.
It did tell a story in there about how he based a character in one of his comics on himself, and then did all sorts of horrible things to that character in his comics, and then bad things started happening to him in his real life. And he stopped being mean to his character.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's if he's.
I always dread when bad stuff happens to Batman. Same shit happens to me.
If he's used to manifesting things for himself in his life, then of course anything he writes or draws, he's probably going to put that same energy into it.
I wish somebody punished him for Batman Inc. They haven't made a hell hot enough for all that.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to one more discovery. And I love this one. It's about some 1,800-year-old sarcophagi that were rediscovered during construction.
Do you think there's this one freaking Egyptian hanging out that finds the most sarcophagus, like in the high school, and they're like, hey, sarcophagi. What's going on, big guy? Find any today? In fact, I did.
During construction in Israel. So there are 2 coffins from the Roman period that were found during building work for a new wildlife hospital after they were initially...
A wildlife hospital?
Yes. They were initially dug up around 25 years ago when a parking lot was built. And then I guess they were moved when the parking lot was built, and people just forgot about them, and they ended up being covered up with sand and thick vegetation. Like they were just forgotten. And so now when they've gone to build this new wildlife hospital, they saw them kind of sticking out of the dirt, and they uncovered them again. And they were like, oh, wow.
Well, hey, forgot about
sarcophagi.
That. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, I forgot I put those over there. I was wondering where those got to.
I wonder why we had these weird curses here in town.
Well, there are 2 matching coffins. They're decorated identically with like garlands and these discs. There's from the Roman periods, like 200 to 300 CE. And it says they were probably made for a husband and wife. And they're believed to be carved from stone quarried locally, but were actually imitations of prestigious sarcophagi made from like marble and things like that. And they said that between the garlands are these oval blanks where the archaeologists believed were originally intended to be filled with like a customary grape cluster motif, but for some reason weren't even finished.
Oh.
And it doesn't say whether they've ever opened them, just that they found them when they did the parking lot, moved them to this other area, completely forgot they were there.
Right.
Left them for like 25 years, and now that they're building this wildlife hospital, they're like, oh, hey, look what we found.
Yeah,
it's got to be fun when you can rediscover your archaeological finds.
Especially at your wildlife hospital.
25 years. Be like, just put those over there. We'll find them again in a couple decades.
Is it like a big-ass hospital?
I think they just happened to be moved to the land.
Does the wildlife run the hospital, or is it is it for them? You got a couple of deer out there in the ambulance? I mean, what is that?
I think it's where they can take care of some of the injured wildlife.
Well, yeah,
maybe.
It's just weird.
Yes.
I don't know of many of those.
I don't know. It was very strange. I just thought I just don't know how you find something so old and important and then forget.
Well, maybe because
Leave
it's
them.
freaking Israel.
Sitting there.
I mean, you can dig a garden and find something like that. It's like, what'd you find? Oh, it's an apostle. Damn it, not another one. I mean, they're just around.
I suppose. But they're very cool looking if you look at them. I want to know if they've ever looked inside to see, it doesn't sound like they even were curious. They're like, it's probably for husband and wife.
That'll be a story in 20 years.
Didn't really open it. Yeah, they'll find them out. Who knows where they put them this time? 25 years from now, they'll be like, oh, we found these.
Yeah. It's so weird.
We keep finding these things. Was
last
like
time
6 now?
Last time we found them was when those deer opened that hospital. It bewildered all of us so long ago. We just kind of, forgot about it.
All right. So I have a few ghost haunting type stories.
Ghost hunting type stories. That can be found in your local library too.
So this first one is about a woman who was terrorized by a haunted painting that she found.
Oh, no.
I know you
no.
love haunted
Jesus.
paintings. I can't wait to buy some haunted art.
You'll be single.
And hang. The only one I'm not going to buy is the Crying Boy
No,
one.
you're not going to buy any of them.
To burn down.
No. There's a reason these things are freaking cursed, you weirdo.
So here's the story. This woman's name is Mel, and she found this painting dumped by the side of a commercial bin in a Brighton street. This is from Brighton.
Yeah, well, I got that.
And it had been abandoned, and so she thought, well, this is not bad. It was painted in 1973, and it had an attractive woman kind of dressed in a white robe, and she had a lot of jewelry on, and she thought, this is pretty nice. Just the frame was a little messed up, so she took it home and, put it in a new frame.
Have you ever found anything on the street and just been like, that's pretty cool?
Yeah, no, not personally, no. And she hung it, and that was when she noticed that this paranormal activity started. So a ton of terrible things happened since she found the painting. Her and her partner split up, and she moved out. And when she moved out, all she took was the clothes that she was wearing, her dog, and the painting.
Oh.
She said it was the only thing that she felt drawn to, that she loved it so much, she just took it with her.
The dog's like, well.
And so her problems continued. One day after moving into a new apartment, her old but otherwise healthy German Shepherd dog died suddenly.
Oh.
Which is very sad. And soon after that, she said dark and unexplainable paranormal activity happened frequently in her home. The TV would change channels by itself.
That was a dog.
Doors would open and slam shut.
Definite dog.
And on one occasion, she woke up by the sound of keys opening her door.
Oh, that was
even though that wasn't actually happening. She just heard the sound. And she said she would hear door handles move and then keys go in and out. The TV changed the channel. There's overwhelming darkness. It was awful for her. She felt really alone. And everything else in her life, like with her job and things like that, were just, everything seemed to be going wrong. So she said she liked buying new flowers, but every time she'd bring plants into her house, within hours they would be dead. And she said that it was as if a dark entity had attached itself to her with the intent of ruining her life. Like, she couldn't figure it out. And so eventually she traced all of the activity back to when she discovered the painting. So she was like, she was convinced that that was the source of all the negativity that was happening to her, and she got her son to throw it out. And she said almost immediately after it was removed, the activity stopped.
Son died,
she just
but,
feels more peaceful. When she had the painting, she had gone back to drinking.
Oh.
And after she got rid of it, she was able to stop and, get sober. And she just says she feels so much better. Now, they have a picture of the painting in the article, and they show a picture of the signature on the painting. I can't really read the artist's name, but nobody really knows what the painting is or where it came from. There was some speculation. They posted the picture online and asked anybody that had any ideas to email, the news station.
They all tried.
And some people were
They all
like,
died.
oh, it looks a little bit like Madame Laveau, the voodoo queen. I don't know. They showed a picture of her. It's not ridiculously similar. Like, you couldn't just look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's what that is. I think people might just be stretching there a little bit. But I don't know. It's very crazy, and it was smart of her to get rid of it.
Yeah, it'd be very smart not to bring it home in the first place. But
well, I'm sure she didn't know it was haunted when she first saw it.
yeah, well, I don't know. There's a reason these things are on the street.
Right.
You know?
Somebody obviously threw it away for a reason, right?
Right.
The person before that. So.
I mean, you don't throw away a perfectly good.
Okay,
you know.
let's have a rule. If you're going to throw away a painting because it's haunted, let's put a note on it. Maybe you write on. You know how you write void on a check because you don't want somebody to cash it? Why don't you just write right across the front of the painting, haunted painting?
Because somebody will get it quicker.
Maybe.
Because there's freaks out there like you.
Well, but if you put this painting will curse you, you aren't liable for their trouble.
Right. And you think somebody would leave that alone because of that in this world?
No, probably not. They'd probably sell it on eBay, make a ton of money.
5 times as much. Everybody's a moron. Like, listen, I'm convinced.
Right.
Like that we have gotten stupider as a people.
Oh yeah, haven't you ever seen those things online that talk about how you know that we are dumber now than we used to be? Because you used to, like, manual, you get with your car, it used to tell you how to change the battery. Now it tells you not to drink the contents of the battery.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's the difference.
All you got to do is look at children's toys.
Right, exactly.
In the 50s, 60s, even the 70s, kids got erector sets. Okay. And they had little engines in them and actual metal, and you screwed things and all this stuff.
Right.
They don't have that now. Because
came with real motors that actually have working parts that you could get your finger stuck in and stuff like that.
Yeah, but because kids would be dead. like it would be masses of kids all dead. Because they would like wet themselves and like touch the metal and then stick their freaking ding dong in a light socket at the same time.
Right.
I mean, didn't they just do it? Like, I don't know how it works. Let me eat a Tide Pod. I mean, we didn't do crap like that. Like they didn't have to tell us, hey, don't pour the Clorox in your ass.
Right.
I mean, it just didn't happen.
They didn't have to put things like do not eat on everything you're not supposed to eat.
I've covered this before. The kid that's missing the appendages at school.
Right.
I mean, little Billy might not come back to class, but it happened, I'm sure.
Right.
But we went on and we learned things, and it just doesn't happen like that now. I don't know why. I don't know if someone's right about, shots that people get or anything like that. If I don't know why it's happened, but just common sense is gone. There's just this uselessness that's been created it just keeps growing like some weird disease, and people are stupid.
Yes, I agree.
They see things that are like, absolutely 100%, no way around it. This thing is cursed and your dog will die. And they're just like, they get it. The dog looks at the painting. The person looks at the painting. They each look at each other. Dog looks back at the painting. Dog knows what it says, but dog can't pretend that he knows what it says. And looks back at the person. The person's like, yeah, well, what the hell? I mean.
And then the dog runs away.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I bet these dogs are having underground meetings at this day. Like, what are we going to do about this, boys? My human's getting really dumb.
Well, let's do another one, shall we? Another story?
Well, on the dog thing, I got to tell you something.
Okay.
So sometimes my little dream sequences of, Johnson stories and things like this, it happens when regular life is happening.
Right.
So I was watching wrestling with the kids.
Okay.
And we were watching a damn good Japanese match.
Right.
And our hero in the match, our babyface in the match, applied the bulldog choke.
Okay.
And I just started laughing because this guy is a cowboy. The guy we were watching, he's a pretty hard ass guy. And I was like, this guy. Yeah, I was like, he actually practices on actual bulldogs. and for some reason, all the kids pictured it because I was just like, and his wife comes home and she's like, because she breeds bulldogs, and she's like, well, I don't know why they don't get around you. And it's just like, it's because he's gotten so good at the bulldog choke. Anyway, so he applies it again later on, and the kids are just dying in the floor. It's like, he's talking about being a master of the bulldog choke. So it happens all the time. Just letting you know.
All right, so let's move on to this next haunted item story.
Okay.
And this is about a lady who claims that she's been plagued by disturbing nightmares ever since she bought a second-hand wardrobe off of Facebook.
Well.
And she said she bought it from what she's calling strange folk.
Strange
that gave
folk,
her
eh?
an uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
So now this story came out
I think
on
there's
a
a group
thread.
on Facebook I'm a member of.
Probably strange folk.
Yeah.
We should be anyway. This was posted in a thread called "Am I Being Unreasonable?" And it's just a thread where people tell their story and they want to know if other people think they're being
I'm going to be
unreasonable.
Stacey for a second. If you have to ask a question in that group, the answer is yes.
No, not necessarily. So she started off by saying that she's not generally a woo person, although she used the word woo. So that leads me to believe that she might be a bit of a woo person because normally people don't use the word woo.
People don't know the woo thing unless
That's
you're in the
right.
woo.
And she says she's not talking about ghosts or implying that the furniture is technically haunted, but she's wondering about if a piece of furniture could have some bad energy attached to it. So she said just over 2 weeks ago, she bought a pre-owned wardrobe on the Facebook Marketplace. And it was pretty old. It's almost an antique. And she said it's probably irrelevant, but the people that delivered it were quite strange folk. The sort you get an uneasy feeling from. And she said it was a really awkward handover.
It's a really wide array for me.
I know, but she said ever since she got the wardrobe in the bedroom that she's been plagued with disturbing nightmares every single night without fail. And
Maybe you need this thing.
she added that her little girl has now started being frightened during the night. She's a toddler, that she sleeps in her room with her, and she's been saying that she's scared in the night now, and she's never done that before.
No.
And she doesn't know anything about the mom having nightmares and has no reason to just all of a sudden be unsettled.
Unless the mom's nightmares are very vocal.
True.
Scaring the hell out of the
also,
little kid.
sometimes kids are very perceptive,
Especially
empathic.
their mom, yeah.
Yeah, like, with little babies, if you're really tired and agitated, you're not going to be able to rock a baby to sleep. They're going to be able to tell.
Not our babies.
Yeah, definitely not.
I can't get mad anywhere in the same zip code as mine.
But she says that her mood has been quite low for the same amount of time with no particular cause identifiable. And she finds herself feeling uncharacteristically short-tempered and down. So she wants to know if she's being unreasonable to think that all of the above may be linked to the bad energy of this new piece of furniture that she has. So some of the people that answered her, question were like,
The strange people.
Yeah,
First off,
strange
lady.
folk. A lot of people were like, yes, it could have some bad energy. Some people said maybe it's haunted, but some people were like, what difference does it make? If it makes you feel bad, get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. If you are not comfortable with this wardrobe, just get rid of the wardrobe.
Well, I started my smack habit around the same time. I don't know what's been making me feel weird.
Some people were, just being funny about it, saying that the wardrobe was clearly evil and that it was an entrance to the underworld and Baba Yaga was coming with her demon monkeys to raid and pillage her in the night.
Well, I hope so. That's freaking awesome.
But personally, I don't think she's being unreasonable, and I'm with the people that said, if she's uncomfortable with it, she should just get rid of it. Because even if it's not bad energy, now that she's associated that with bad energy in her mind, it's not ever going to be fixed.
I believe that the devil is real, and for years, supposedly on Judgment Day, they're going to know everything and
right.
what else happened, and I think that really we had a population explosion, and we ran out of angels to listen to everybody.
Right.
So they were like, we got to do something, and like God was meeting with the devil. It's like, what are we going to do? Satan's like, I'm going to make something called Twitter. We'll find out who all the assholes are really quick. So we'll just give them a chance to be anonymous and be keyboard warriors and all this. We'll let it go for about, 10, 20 years.
Right.
Then we're going to bring them all in a room. We could only be so lucky, huh? I was just thinking of the people that were commenting bad stuff on there.
Right.
Somebody gets on there and they're just like, I'm going to pour my heart out here and tell you about my fears and my innermost insecurities and let you crap all over them as you do the dance of your people. I mean, what is wrong with people?
Well, if Satan made Twitter, then aliens made 4chan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who did Reddit? Who's responsible for Reddit?
Reddit is not bad.
No.
I mean, let me rephrase that. Reddit has some people. I mean, the worst thing about Reddit is they get a lot of scoops and they break a lot of hack stuff. But I personally enjoy Reddit.
I do.
So
you can get lost there too, can't you? For a while.
A lot of rabbit holes. It's the whole thing about Reddit, it's hard to get all the information in one spot. Like you're not really, you have to get into so many sub forums and everything. So
yes, definitely rabbit holes. All right, so let's do one more like haunted story. This is more about a sighting and a paranormal experience instead of a haunted item. So this is about a psychic that snapped a picture of a ghost girl at a Scots castle where she supposedly smelt the aroma of rotting meat.
Yeah.
Now, this is a woman named Bethany McPherson, and she went to Lennox Castle with some friends, and she said that she was just snapping pictures during the trip, didn't notice it at the time. That's always the way it works, right? Where you don't actually notice what you're taking pictures of.
Yeah.
And you look at them later. So when she looked back at the pictures from her trip, she realized that she had this picture of like a little girl peeking out of the window.
Mm-hmm.
And there are the pictures on the article, but she talked about why she was there, that it was dark and she immediately felt uncomfortable and that she had this horrible sick feeling in her stomach. And it was when they went into like this cellar area, and she said that she could smell like a burning smell.
Right.
And at the time they thought that maybe somebody had lit a fire. It was getting kind of dark. They thought maybe somebody had lit a fire nearby, and they looked around. There was nothing that looked like it had been burnt. And she smelled what she thought smelled like rotting meat. Now, let me again say this woman is psychic, so it could have just been the impressions of the building. And she didn't really know anything about the history of the building when she first went. They just went because they had heard about it and decided they wanted to go look around. So whenever they were in there, she said they went into this little bit that was like a tunnel. And that's when she smelled the rotting meat, and she knew instantly she had to leave. And as they were leaving, they heard an object hitting off of a piece of metal, like somebody was throwing something at them. So it was a huge paranormal experience for her. And when she got home later on, she was looking through her pictures. Supposedly she had the picture of the spirit looking out the window.
I mean, I can see it. I enjoyed these pictures. I could see it.
I looked at the pictures. I was not looking at them full size because I was looking on my iPad. So I have to admit, I didn't really see exactly what she was talking about.
And I have to admit that does not surprise me from investigating with you for all these years.
It was not immediately apparent to me what was in the window, but you said you saw it, so I believe you.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's there. I'll have to just bring them
me
up
and the
make
people
them
that wrote
bigger.
the article, and
Right. Now, this Lennox Castle, the history of it was built in the 1830s, and it was...
Lake Castle.
Lennox.
No, a lake castle, 1830s.
Oh, yeah, and that was... it was a thriving baronial mansion and estate before...
A what? A baronial? Is that like where a bunch of bros live?
Where barons live?
Oh.
Baronial?
Oh.
Baronial? I can't say it like that.
Hey, man. You want to stay in the baronial? My dad paid for it.
Well, this is before being transformed into a psychiatric hospital in 1927.
No, we gotta go.
And it was plagued with rumors of mismanagement and abuse.
Well, of course, it's psychiatric. I think when they first were making those, and like 1800s and stuff, they're like, well, we're not sure if we're going to let you put this here. Do you promise to put people in here that don't deserve to be here? Well, absolutely. Are you going to molest them and abuse them and maybe even, cut the top of their head off and mess with their brains? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we were, you got to give us a chance to get around all of it. But yeah, I mean, eventually.
It does say that, I guess it ran as a psychiatric hospital all the way until 1986 when the hospital's medical director at the time broke ranks to say that he had never worked in what he's calling a worse pit. So it was finally closed, and many of the buildings were demolished in 2002, except for the main building. But the main building was badly damaged in 2008 in a fire.
Yeah, it was one of the former patients.
Probably. Now, it didn't say this in the article, but I looked up this Lennox Castle location just to get see if there was any other history of it. And the only other piece of information I found was that during World War I, it was requisitioned for use as a military hospital.
Oh, no.
Which would explain maybe the rotting meat smell. And, of course, it was a psychiatric hospital. I don't know if they would have a morgue or not, but that kind of covers all of the things that she sort of experienced while she was there. And then, of course, you have clearly the place is most likely haunted, and she supposedly caught the pictures of the apparitions staring out the windows, which is creepy. Creepy.
a lot of times the psychiatric hospitals, and there was a really bad history of abuse in many of them at the time, right? And especially some of the treatments they did and the misunderstanding of even the simplest mental disorders is so sad. It's probably one of the biggest tragedies in our history, in our recent history, I should say. It's just the mismanagement of it, really all the way back. I mean, the madness, the brain fever, all this stuff. That's one thing. If we've improved any as a people, it's how we handle mental illness. Now, we're still not perfect with it at all.
Oh, no.
In fact, I think we overdiagnose it now.
Right.
And, because there's a lot of stuff, like I was telling one of my friends the other day, it's hard to believe, that I would have an anxiety problem with some of the stuff I do, where I'm all out in front of people and, with the wrestling or whatever. But this was another wrestler I was talking to. He's like, me too, man. I absolutely grew up with, the worst anxiety and very introverted and all this stuff. Now, you would never know this. And I was like, well, that's because if we had a problem like that, they sent us on to school. We got punched in the face. We punched somebody else in the face. We learned to be successful in businesses and this, in spite of this, and use it to our advantage in many ways, to cover it in other ways. We learn to survive, to adapt. And that's not really what's taught anymore. It's if in many ways, a lot of these guys, this was the conclusion I came to, a lot of the guys in these locker rooms with me were actually introverts. They were actually people with anxiety problems. And you know what they did? They transferred their problems, into this little hole, and they became this other character. And this character went out there and did all the things they wish they could do. Right. And I know that was really deep, but really, if talking to these guys, it seems like a lot of them had the same issues. So all of a sudden they're, Mr. Hero Pants. Right. And they're out there doing this, or maybe they're a really nice person and they go become this evil whatever, you just never know. But it's kind of funny that it's the truth. We used to be put on, like, oh yeah, you'll be all right. Oh, that's just part of growing up, Right. And I'm not saying maybe it is better. They identify it now, but I don't think so. I don't think that a 10-year-old should be going, well, it's my anxiety, Jimmy. I've got too much on me. There's just, there's this new ride in the playground, and I'm always last. I never get there on time, and nobody ever likes me cut line. And, I got with the fat kid on the seesaw every time. I get thrown off like 10 feet in the air. I mean, I don't want to say anything because you can't tell the son of a bitch he's fat, or, he'll get a complex. I'll get suspended. So maybe it's better now.
Maybe. I don't know. All right. So
did you not ever get stuck with like that? Because you're the girl that would get stuck with the fat girl.
No.
On the seesaw. Really?
No.
Oh, that sucks. Like, because I remember, I just remember like it was bad. Because it happened to me. But this kid, he was so big. And it would be like seesaw time. And I'd be like, oh, no.
We didn't have seesaws at school during recess. No.
Well, that's because you lived in like the inner city. It was probably all like vandalized and stolen.
No, we just didn't have a playground. I'm trying to remember. I went to a really small elementary school. Like, it was not that many kids, really.
Did it have special in the title?
No. We had like an obstacle course kind of thing, like one of those where you'd have to run around and do like your gym certification, like the pull-up bar. And
we had pull-up bars. We didn't have an obstacle course.
There were some slides and swings. I just don't think we had seesaws that I recall.
My high school had a tobacco field in front where they actually
yes, it did.
Where they actually grew tobacco.
I knew that. We used to make fun of that.
Yeah, well.
At my high school.
That's great. You would have had more fun at mine.
Probably. All right, I have a couple more stories here. And this first one is about the ranch next to Area 51 is for sale.
Area 50?
Yeah, and it includes the famous black mailbox.
Yes.
Now, this particular ranch is called the Medlin Ranch. It's on the market, and it's the only cattle ranch that is directly adjacent to the military base.
That's what the government called it when they saw the guy looking for, alien parts there one day. And it's like, what you doing meddling around?
So So the story of the black mailbox it's pretty iconic. Now, when Medlin and his wife first moved in, it was back in the 70s. There was no buildings, no running water. They built this ranching operation, from the ground up, and eventually they had 750.
Better than from the up to the ground. It's really hard to get started.
It's really hard to start from the top of the area. So they didn't know anything about Area 51 at the time. So in the mid-'80s,
really?
Yeah, the Air Force seized 89,000 acres of public land with no explanation. And some of that land had been used by Medlin to graze his cattle. And they said it's not going to make any difference. But eventually he was able to work out a deal with the Air Force. And the military told him that he could enter the forbidden base to tend to his roaming cattle, but that he needed to call first on a radio that they gave him. So he was allowed to go over there and tend his cattle, but they gave him a special radio to call him and let him know that he was coming.
So do you think his meat ever tasted strange?
I don't know.
Bet you started glowing at night.
Things became more complicated in 1989.
My cows seem really scared. Every time the sun goes down, they get a little skittish.
They start coming back towards the house.
Started, giving orange soda out of her udder.
Well, it said things became more complicated for them in 1989 when Bob Lazar showed up and said he had worked at a secret base on alien technology. So all of a sudden, people were arriving by the busload to this area because of what Bob Lazar said. So now the visitors that came to believe that this black mailbox that was installed on the nearby highway was a spot where Bob Lazar had recorded some of his UFO videos. When in reality, that was actually Steve Medlin's mailbox, not the government's mailbox. But it got around that this was the iconic mailbox. One thing leads to another. People just started thinking that that was where Area 51 was getting its mail, and people would start opening it up and going through the mail to look at it. And there was even a story that he found some of his pieces of mail with bullet holes in it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So in 1996, the highway there was renamed the Extraterrestrial Highway, which we know. And they replaced the black mailbox with a welded bulletproof white box. But it also was an attraction because I guess people just thought that particular spot was what it was. So it was a place for people just to, you'd have to go there or you hadn't finished your trip to Alien Highway,
I'd have had some fun with that thing, man.
So
I'd put like some crazy looking body part stuff in there.
He said that at one point when he visited the mailbox, he saw that Mulder from the X-Files had signed it.
Oh, wow.
So it was pretty iconic.
I mean, did it say David Duchovny or did it actually say Fox
I don't
Mulder?
know. That's just what it says in the article. There wasn't a picture.
I mean, this guy
of where he
could be
signed
like Stevie Simple and be like...
It could be.
I know Fox Mulder came by.
And wrote Fox Mulder on it. So they finally took the bulletproof one out and put the black one back. Just so people could, still have their pictures or whatever. Now, the ranch has been on the market since late last year. There's an asking price of $4.5 million, but that includes 2 homes, 70 irrigation spots for cattle, and 80 total acres. And there's also a weather station installed on the land by the government, but you get all of the cattle. You get a permit for 250 head on the Area 51 ranch, and you get all the equipment and everything that comes with it. So I don't know. There was a pending deal on it, but it hasn't gone through. So it might still be up for sale if somebody wants to live next to Area 51.
I just think there's a big risk you're taking.
I think so too.
I mean, I would really want to check the cows for like radiation, check the place for radiation. I mean, it's really cool because it'd be a fun place. It'd be like having a place next to Edwards Air Force Base, like
right, where you could just watch it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, just watch the sky all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you live there, would you not have an outside camera just trained on it at all times?
I can't legally say everything I would have. But let's just say there'd be some listening devices and some fake trees and
right. Digging some tunnels and
be some really, really crazy stuff.
All right, so I have this one last story, and it is also about a piece of property, but not for sale. It is about Buffalo Bill's house the villain from Silence of the Lambs. It's becoming a bed and breakfast.
Oh.
Yes. So this is a man named Chris Rowan, and he purchased the home that served as the filming location for Buffalo Bill's house in the 1991 movie Silence of the Lamb. And he is converting it into a bed and breakfast. And he is going to set it up with like memorabilia from the movie and doing some renovations to make sure that the inside matches some of the shots that they did on an actual soundstage. And this includes digging a basement to resemble the one seen in the film, because the house doesn't actually have a basement.
Aww.
So I'm wondering if that's going to include the well. I believe it's going to.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he said there'll be a boutique accommodation, so you'll be able to book Buffalo Bill's house for a stay overnight, and is hoping to have it ready for guests within the next few months to take advantage of the 30th anniversary of the movie.
He's going to kill a few people too, and make some new lampshades, but he's looking to do all that just to make sure it's authentically haunted.
He should sell lotion.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it, so I was thinking of that when you were doing the extraterrestrial highway thing. I would, you wouldn't be taking free pictures out there. I'll tell you that much. I would have one of the kids out there all day dressed like a damn alien. And just be like,
with a sign.
Yeah,
make some extra money, kids.
Nanu. Welcome to the Edwards family, alien attraction. If you'd like a picture, it's $5. If you want something more, it's $10.
Wow. So there you are. You can go stay. I don't know why you'd want to stay in Buffalo Bill's house.
No,
it's not like he's the hero of the movie.
No, and it's not even like it's really connected, other than the fact.
No, they just used it to film.
Yeah, they randomly filmed it illegally going down the street. They're like, that house looks good.
It doesn't even have a basement, so all of the most iconic things didn't even happen in that particular house. But I guess for movie buffs, and if it's really going to look like his house eventually, they would find that fun.
I guess.
Picture taking things.
I mean, I guess. It doesn't sound that intriguing to me.
No, I guess not.
But, oh well.
Well, that's all my news.
Somebody will like it. So, anyway, lunacy. It's just utter lunacy. That's what this is. It's just, the Looney Loon drive. We even had a loon story. Well, not about a loon. No. Like, it's talking about like a loony bin. So,
wow.
And the moon is on high right now.
Yes.
It is
something's high right now.
It is showering down love and affection for all of you.
Yes.
And we love you back. So for my lovely wife Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sad Show.
Good night.